Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the A-Pod. Fun chats, fun topics, fun people. My name is Arda Ocal. We bring you this podcast every single Wednesday at msgnetworks.com and on iTunes, as well as other podcatchers that I'm still not familiar with. So I should probably figure that out so I can make a list for you. I'm guessing Google Play is a part of that. And I'm getting a thumbs up, so yes, it is. It is also on Google Play. I'm going to officially add that to the list. But guess what? It's Friday. So why did you see a new episode of the A-Pod on a Friday? Well, that's because we've been giving you bonus editions of the A-Pod every single week for the last several weeks. Will that continue? I don't know. Don't know the answer to that question. But I can tell you that this is a bonus episode, and the guest is very timely because he has a movie based on his life out in theaters. Liev Schreiber of Ray Donovan fame, Sabretooth and X-Men, many other things. But I know him best as Ray Donovan because I love that show. And he plays the main character, the subject of this film, and the man who is our guest on the A-Pod in this episode, Chuck Wepner, former heavyweight boxer in the golden era of boxing. Chuck Wepner has fought the likes of George Foreman, Ernie Terrell, Sonny Liston, and most famously Muhammad Ali. And so we talk about all of that, and we also talk about what it's like to finally have, after 11 years of waiting, having a Hollywood movie based on your life. Now, this is a really interesting story. Chuck Wepner is a very interesting guy, and he's local, too. He was born and raised in Bayonne, New Jersey. So he definitely has a big connection to Madison Square Garden, and we talk about that as well. His memories of winning the Golden Gloves there, fighting there in his second professional fight. He has a lot of memories from the world's most famous arena, and of course, we go through that and a lot more, including fighting Muhammad Ali, what it's like to have a movie named after you and based on your life, what it's like seeing people portray you on the big screen, and whether Liev Schreiber did a good job, in his opinion. We get to a ton of questions. Also, if you don't know, Chuck Wepner, and Sylvester Stallone has revealed this, Chuck Wepner is the inspiration for Rocky. So we're basically talking to the real-life Rocky in this podcast. So without further ado, on a bonus edition of the A-Pod, here is our conversation with Chuck Wepner. All right, sitting here with the Bayonne Bleeder, Chuck Wepner. And I've heard that you initially, or maybe still, don't like that nickname?
Well, I got used to it over the years.
Yeah.
It was given to me early in my career in 1969, actually, by Rosie Rosenberg, the editor of the Bayonne Times, and it stuck pretty much with me, and it's now they've changed it a little bit. They don't mention as much as they used to, but it was going to be the name of my movie that they're making about me, The Bleeder, and now they've changed that to Chuck. So
which one do you prefer? I mean, yeah, that was the working title, The Bleeder, for a while. It changed to Chuck. Which one do you
I
like?
like probably Chuck.
Yeah.
Because people know that Chuck Wepner, and I probably like that a little better.
This movie's a long time in the making, like at least 10 years. The first time this movie's been discussed.
Over 11.
Over 11. So how does it feel to finally be able to see this on the big screen?
Oh, it's great. I just they had come up with a couple of scripts before, which I wasn't crazy about. Mike Tolan, who was the head producer, was running these scripts by me, but most of all, it was the guy that they wanted to play Chuck in the movie. And I wasn't happy with those guys, and I don't want to go into any names. But when they came up with Liev Schreiber, I flipped. Wow, Liev Schreiber. Mike, I'm on board. Let's go. And
were you a fan of his beforehand? Had you seen any of his work?
A huge fan.
Yeah, you were a big fan?
Huge fan. I saw Wolverine 1 and 2. I saw The Omen. I saw the Manchurian Candidate. I mean, this guy is a world-class actor, and after I got to know him, he's now like almost like a son or a nephew to me. He's such a great guy, and we've gotten along so great.
He's and he has experience with this kind of role too with Ray Donovan. It's very similar. Someone who is in the world of celebrity and seeing a fall from grace and then a resurgence, or just a life reparation, so to speak. So it's like almost come full circle in a way.
Yeah,
which is
just
really cool.
about. You know, I did a little of that work myself, and when I saw the first Ray Donovan, I loved that also. I never miss, and if for some reason I'm not home and I can't watch it, I'll have it taped by my daughter Kim or my daughter Charlene. I have two girls, and they'll tape it, and then as soon as I get home, I'll watch it because I love it.
How realistic is the boxing experience for a fighter in that show? The guy who plays Ali in this film also
Right.
plays, I forget his name.
Pooch
but
Hall.
Pooch Hall's his real name,
Great.
and I forget the name of the character in Ray Donovan, but he's a boxer in Ray
Yeah,
Donovan.
he's actually the son,
Yeah.
one of the sons of
Right, Mickey's son.
of John Voight. John Voight, who is is another great actor. I would have loved to have him in the movie also, but one out of two ain't bad. I've got Liev Schreiber, and I'm very happy with
How
that.
many, I know you don't want to get into names, but can you give us an idea of how many actors tried out for the role of
Three
you?
others.
And were you in the room watching this, or did you see tapes of them, or?
No, not at all. They just
Okay.
Mike Tolan just mentioned them to me. We looked over the scripts. Mike Tolan's the boss. He's the head
Yeah.
producer, and he's a terrific guy. You know, he stuck with me all those years, and I just wasn't crazy about the guys he was bringing up to play the part until he came across Liev Schreiber.
So this movie took a long time to get created. What was it that finally tipped it over the edge that Hollywood finally said, yeah, okay, this movie's going to get done?
I think Liev Schreiber and Naomi Watts and Elizabeth Moss, the
So
actors.
the cast.
Yeah, the cast. I think the cast is what tipped it over in the favor of us and had the movie finally made, and I couldn't be happier.
So how hands-on were you during the filming process?
Not at all.
Oh, you weren't there on set
Oh
watching
yeah, I
Liev
was
play
there.
you?
No, I was there 9 or 10 times, but Mike Tolan was the boss.
Okay.
And you know, he and his partners, and a lot of it was hands-on from them, and I just went to there and watched the cast perform the movie, and I loved what they did with it.
See, if it were me, not that a movie would ever be made about me, but if it were me, I'd be watching and seeing if they have the mannerisms correct. I mean, were you on set sort of evaluating Liev as he's portraying you on screen? Or were you hands-off saying, no, you know what, he's got this?
Exactly. Liev has got this. We had spent a few times together, and he got the voice mannerisms down, and he looked like a fighter. He's built like a fighter, and he sounded like a fighter. And you know, every time, and I saw him 3 or 4 different scenes. I thought that everything was just great.
And what about Naomi Watts? Did she portray
I'll tell you,
correctly?
Christina Hendricks was supposed to play the part of my second wife.
Oh, wow.
From Mad Men, and but Naomi came on board when she found out that Liev was going to be playing a leading part in the movie. And let's face it, Naomi Watts, Christina Hendricks, a beautiful woman and terrific actress from the show Mad Men. But when Naomi came on, she said, "Look, I want to play the part of Chuck Wepner's wife, Linda." And she knocked it out of the ballpark. She only had a small part in the movie, near the end of the movie. But boy, what she did was quality work.
Yeah, I thought the casting was terrific. Like you said, it was a very well acted movie. But when you're watching, I want to know from your perspective, because this was a movie about you, and you are there to see it. So when you watch this, how biopics sometimes take liberties with facts in a story, but how close is this to what actually happened?
I think it's very close. You know, they told it the way it was. You know, a couple of the reasons that I didn't want the script that they showed me originally was because they made me look really better than I was. You know, I had a rough living life. You know, I liked the partying, the alcohol, the good times, and I didn't care for some of the ways they did this and that. But actually, the final decision was Mike Tolan's, and he told me, he said he thought he really liked this script, and I looked at it and I thought it was much better than the other ones, and everything was tipped in our favor. The scales were tipped on because of Liev Schreiber. Boy, when he got the lead role in the movie, I was, man, that's the guy I want playing my part.
How much, you sort of mentioned this before, but how much time did you spend with him before he started this role?
Probably 3 or 4 times I met him. I talked to him.
And was it
He
just
got
a
my voice
conversation? Was he
inflection.
picking your
Yeah,
brain?
well, once we went to the Garden, and we
Okay,
saw
that's cool.
Triple G fight, and him and Naomi and me and Linda, my wife Linda, and I got to know him, and I liked him right off the bat. And then I met him a couple other times, went out to dinner once, and he's very unassuming. You know, he doesn't put on any airs. He's actually in some ways a little shy. You know, and with me, I'm big and loud. Hey, I'm Chuck Wepner, you know. But Liev caught the part, and when I saw him playing Ray Donovan, I saw a guy. I said, you know, this guy could do it. This guy could be me. And even though he's not real loud and everything in Ray Donovan, he's just the kind of guy that if somebody said, who do you want to play your life? Who do you want to be like or have acting like you did in the days? I would have to say Ray Donovan is, you know, I liked the life. I liked the way he acted it.
Did you watch him spar, box at all?
Yes, I did on 2 occasions, and I said, you know, he's got some natural talent. You know, he picked up very quickly, and he boxed with Pooch Hall, who was a fighter, Pooch Hall, you know, and a pretty damn good one too. And
I thought he did a terrific Ali, by the way. Didn't
terrific.
he?
Yes, he
had
did.
the accent perfect.
Well, you know, the first time I met him, they told me Pooch Hall was playing Ali, and I said, well, you know, I'd like to meet him. He said, well, he's in a side room. So I walked in, and he said, hey, Mr. Wepner, how are you? Do me a favor. First of all, Pooch, call me Chuck. Don't call me Chuck Wepner or Mr. Wepner, or just call me Chuck. And I said, you know, are you going to be playing Ali's part? Do you do the Ali shuffle? And he went right into it. And I said, I said, you know what? You are the man. You got the part. You know, not that I had any say-so over who got the part. You know, there was a guy named Hopkins who was the casting director. Originally, I didn't know if he was going to do a great job because I don't know that much about Hollywood acting and all, but I thought he did a terrific job. After the movie was finally cast, I thought he did a terrific job.
Did I mean, this is well documented, your past with Stallone, but like, did you talk to him at all before this film came out? Have you had conversations?
No, not
No?
really.
Not really? Okay.
No, they came out. Of course, I had met him, hung out with him, and built him a Rocky 1. And over the 30-year period, and he wrote a part into Rocky 2 for me. Ching Weber, one of his chief sparring partners. I didn't get the part because I really didn't study it, and I'm not an actor.
Well, that's all in the film. I don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah,
but yeah.
no. But I hold a SAG card. 35 years. Matter of fact, I'm now grandfathered and I pay no more dues because I have over 30 years with a SAG card. And I carry that around me all the time.
Yeah. So I mean, a big part of the film is your fight with Ali, of course. But I do want to ask, because you did fight other big heavyweight names in that era. You fought Foreman, you fought Frazier.
I fought Foreman, I fought Terrell, and I fought Liston.
Liston, sorry, not
yeah,
Frazier.
Sonny
Liston,
Liston.
yeah.
And yeah, I fought some of the big ones. Both in that era, when I was ranked in the top 10 for 42 straight months, by the way, I was ranked 8th. It was a great time for the heavyweights, and
I'd love to know who the toughest heavyweight you fought was.
Sonny Liston.
Sonny Liston by far?
Yeah.
Harder puncher than Foreman?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Well, Foreman was the young, swinging, young George Foreman, where he threw a lot of roundhouse punches. When George came back the second time, everything was in close and short, and he was actually a better fighter, I think. Even though he held the world title when he was younger, you know, he threw a lot of wide punches where the second time he came back, everything was short and was devastating. He knocked out Michael Moorer to win back the world championship.
And so, wow, that's interesting. So Sonny Liston was a harder puncher.
Oh yeah.
Because you fought You fought Foreman in that prime when he was known as the most devastating puncher out there.
Well, he was a wild swinging guy, and I took a great punch, but I was actually pulling away from a left hook that he threw, and he just caught me right in the eye and hit me so hard, although I tell you the truth, I didn't even feel it when it happened, but the eye bone swelled up from the inside and broke through to the outside. And that kind of a cut's the worst one because it's jagged. And when my manager looked at the cut at the end of the third round and said, Chuck, I got to stop the fight. I can't work this cut. It's too bad. I said, Al, come on, you're the best in the world, Al Braidman. He's Chuck, I can't do anything with it. It took 51 stitches. They actually had to sew the muscle inside my eye and then pinch it with clips and sew the outside. It was a bad cut.
Well, for what it's worth, looking at you now, I can't tell. So
yeah, well, I heal
50
up.
50 stitches, I can't tell.
I heal up. I tell everybody, well, you know what I did? I bought a new head when I was done boxing. That's why it looks good. But that's not it. I've been very lucky. I heal fast, and I after 16 and a half, almost 17 years in a ring, I'd be willing to venture that I'm probably in better shape, mentally and physically, than most of the heavyweights around.
Wow. Okay, let's get to the Ali fight. I want to know the real fight now. It's well documented in the film, and it's very well portrayed, I have to say. But so you're on an 8-fight win streak going into this fight. 9-fight win streak, pardon me. You had beaten Ernie Terrell. You are riding high. Ali wins Rumble in the Jungle. Nobody thinks it's going to happen. You're watching the fight. You don't even think it's going to happen.
Nope.
You think you're getting Foreman, and then suddenly here it comes. You get Muhammad Ali. So what was the game plan? How were you going to beat Ali?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I thought after the Foreman fight, now he's fighting Chuck Wepner, and maybe he looked past me, wouldn't train as hard as he should have. The fight plan was to stay on top of him, force him into the later rounds, hope he would get tired, and maybe I could knock him out, because that was the only fight I ever trained for full time in my life, and I was in the greatest shape of my life. But unfortunately,
so all those fights, the Foreman fight, the Liston fight, the Terrell fight, you were part-time?
Part-time. I used to run in the morning, come home, shower, work all day, and go to the gym at night. Sometimes getting home from the gym, I was just ready to fall down. I remember one time I sat down on the edge of the bed, and next thing I know, my wife is shaking me. She says, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, honey, what happened?" She says, "I think he just fell asleep. He just fell back." She says, "I got very scared," but I was actually out for a couple of minutes, you know. And,
wow.
But I was just so exhausted some of the times, and I didn't think I could put out 100% and train as hard as I should. But when I went to camp, it was Valhalla. You know, I was the man in camp. Nobody else there. My sparring partners. I had my own room. I had my own trainers. And I got myself in the best shape of my life.
Who were some of your sparring partners that you brought in?
There was a guy named Wild Bill Carlson. There was a guy named Charlie Polite, who was the New England heavyweight champion, who I had knocked out earlier in my career. Bobby Rooney was one of my chief sparring partners, big heavyweight from Bayonne, who was actually undefeated. He tells everybody he retired undefeated. He had 2 fights. But Bobby could emulate, him and Charlie could emulate Ali. They would stick the jab, go on the rope, do the rope-a-dope, because we knew he was going to do the rope-a-dope. And I had good sparring.
So you were training
partners.
for the rope-a-dope. You thought it was a foregone conclusion?
Exactly. Yeah. And it was. He stayed on the ropes a lot early on. After 6 rounds, they had the fight even. One guy even gave me the fight 3-2. Gave me ahead in the fight 3-2-1. But then he started picking up a little bit. Then after I dropped him with that right hand under the heart, he really turned it up. Because Drew Bundini Brown was screaming at him in the corner, "What the hell's wrong with you? You're letting this white boy kick your ass," you know. And Ali was talking a lot of stuff to me too. You know, that's nothing bad. Just, you know, trying to get me off my game. Yes, yeah, that was Ali. You know, he's the greatest promoter in the world. And by the way, I was up to his funeral. I drove up to Kentucky. I spent 3 days there. Wow. I did a lot of interviews, and I did actually, I think, 12 interviews in 3 days, because everybody was up there. And it was my honor to be up there and say goodbye to the champ.
One of the things in the film is actually the way Ali got knocked down. Like, there's a little discussion about that. Where do you land on that today in 2017?
I hit him with a right hand under the heart. I'm absolutely sure I could feel it go all the way up my shoulder. He threw a jab, and I slipped it and threw a right hand, hit him under the heart. And you know what? If somebody steps on your foot when they knock you down, now that could have been any time in the fight that you saw that picture. It looked like I was standing on his foot. But when you get knocked down by a punch, the first thing you do when you get up, you say to the ref, "Hey, there was no knockdown. He stepped on my foot." Ali never said that. He took the stand and 8, which was mandatory in those days. And he continued fighting. As a matter of fact, I went back to the corner. I said to my manager, Al, start the car. We're going to the bank. We're millionaires. Al said, Chuck, you better turn around. He's getting up and he looks pissed off. I said, uh-oh. You know, and he was. He picked it up after that because they were screaming at him. And it was, he was just too good for me. That's all. You know, and I don't think anybody could stay with Ali and beat him once Ali was in shape. And he was in good shape for that fight.
Do you remember the first conversation you had with him after that fight?
Yeah.
Did you talk to him that night?
Right after the fight.
After the fight?
Oh, yeah, we had the press conference right after the fight. And he said, because Billy Crystal imitates it, Chuck Wepner, I never want to fight you in a dark alley. That's just what Ali said. He said, I told you this boy was tough. I told you he was going to give me a good fight, because everybody said it might go 4 or 5 rounds. I went 15. And
it was nice of him to say then, to really like,
oh, yeah.
to put you over like that, to say,
exactly,
so that you can have
in other words,
more of a career.
I was a much better fighter than they thought, you know, even though, like I said, I was ranked in the top 10 in that era, and that was the greatest heavyweight era of all time. We had Ali, Frazier, Foreman, Norton, Terrell, Bonavina, Quarry. I mean, we had some great fighters in the top 10 in them days. And nowadays, you look at the heavyweight division, and all this kid Joshua, who beat Klitschko.
What did you think of that fight? I thought it was one of the best in years.
I thought it was great.
Yeah?
Great fight. I was happy for Joshua because Klitschko was a great champion, 12 years. But you know what? You're 41. Really, you know, I think, and he's loaded. He's worth millions. Why not just get out of the game while you're still? Did you see the cut over his left eye?
Yeah.
Bad cut. He doesn't need that anymore. You know, I mean, everybody has pride. You want to go out a winner, but to lose to this kid Joshua, who I think is the best heavyweight in the world right now, that's why Muhammad Ali was so great. He fought some of the biggest punchers. He fought Liston, beat him twice. He fought Foreman, knocked him out in the 8th round. You know, you're going against the best fighters pound for pound in your division. And you know what people don't realize? The first 25 fights with Ali, he was undefeated. You know, 22 by knockout. And nobody could step in the ring with him or beat him. But they took 4 years off him for the refusal of, you know, induction into the army. You know, but he did that for his people. From Elijah Muhammad says, look, do this for your people, make a statement. You know, and he did that. But he lost possibly the 4 best years of his life. And boy, I would have loved to have seen him in those 4 years because he was magnificent the first 25. He beat a lot of great fighters.
Let's talk more about you now. I love hypotheticals. Which era do you think you would have been the most successful in? Do you think today? You would have, you would
today
be world champ today.
There's 96 different title belts now. When I fought, there was only 12. You know, 12 different divisions, one in each division. Now there's 3 and 4 in every division, and there's a few different, like super this, junior this. There was none of that when I fought 41 years ago, you know. And this, I probably could have won one of the championships here. You know, but right now I think there's still 5 belts out there.
Right.
I think Joshua won them all.
Let's go back to the film. Did you... Was there ever any consideration for you to make a cameo in Chuck? Like, sort of like what Stan Lee does with the Marvel films?
I did make a cameo.
Oh, I didn't see you.
Yeah.
Well, okay, not like, sorry, at the end where you're, like, you know, the pictures are there and you're talking. No. Oh, I missed the cameo then.
I was in the shot where they were showing Ali fighting Foreman for the title.
Okay.
And he knocks him out in Zaire. I was in the audience, and they panned in on me and my wife, and we both had a cameo.
Was that a flashback, or you filmed it for the movie?
I actually filmed it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Oh, yeah, they dressed me up in older clothes.
How could I miss that?
Yeah, well, next time you watch it, during the fight with Ali and Foreman, and I'm in there, you know, because I'm hoping Foreman wins, because Don King said I'm going to be fighting Foreman. He sent me up to Salt Lake City, Utah, to fight a guy named, they called him the Stormin' Mormon, Terry Hinkey.
Okay.
The guy was 32-4 with 31, not big puncher.
Wait, so did they use historical footage of you, or was it you filmed yourself?
No, it was me live. They dressed me up and put me in the audience, and they filmed it during watching the fight with. Next time you'll see it. And anyway, I knocked out Hinkey. I knocked him out in the 11th round. Big puncher, but I knocked him out, and I earned a shot at Foreman. And then Ali beats Foreman, and I thought I was going to lose the shot. And Don King says to me, I promise you a shot at the title. You're going to be fighting Ali.
Wow.
And sure enough, 3 months and a day later, I was watching Kojak. I love Tony Savalas. Really, he was a friend of
Tell
mine.
us about, is he?
I met him.
Yeah.
Very great guy. Anyway, and the phone rings. And I don't answer the phone when Kojak's on. But it just so happened it was an intermission. So let me run see who the hell this is bothering me. I pick it up, it's my mother. Chuck, did you see the news? I said, Mom, I tell you not to bother me when I'm watching Kojak. She says, don't be a wise guy. Go get the paper. The back of the news says, Ali to defend against Wepner, March 24th. Don King had been with Ali in Cleveland. And he said to Ali, look, he just had a tough fight with Foreman.
Wow.
They got a white guy from Jersey who's ranked in the top 10. You had to defend against a ranked guy. And he's, why don't you fight him? You'll probably stop him early on cuts or something, and it'll be an easy fight. And Ali said, okay. Right away, he picked up the phone. That's how King operates. Great. And he announced the fight, the APUP, and it made the newspaper that night, and that's how I got the shot.
Last question for you. You grew up in Bayonne, and obviously Madison Square Garden, you know.
I fought there 6 times.
And I'd love to know just your experience boxing in Madison Square Garden. Did you grow up imagining yourself fighting there? Like, just give us your story, Chuck Wepner in Madison Square Garden.
Chuck Wepner, Madison Square Garden. I dreamed when I started my pro career. I actually won the Golden Gloves heavyweight championship in Madison Square Garden, 65. But I dreamed about someday maybe becoming a contender or fighting in the Garden. And I fought between twice more up in the main arena and 3 times down at the smaller arena under the Garden. So I got my wishes.
You had your second pro fight there at Madison Square Garden. What was that like, knowing I'm a pro fighter and so early in my career, here I am at MSG? It
was great. This is the citadel of boxing, Madison Square Garden, and I loved it. I was very fortunate. I had a manager who Duke Stefano was the matchmaker then. Oh, look that up on him. And my manager knew Duke, and I was a white guy, undefeated. Most of the fighters were black, and I got my shot. I wound up fighting there 5 more times after the Golden Gloves, so I was very happy with that.
Chuck, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Good luck, son.
So there you have it, a conversation with the real Rocky, Bayonne's own Chuck Wepner. Thank you very much for listening and subscribing on iTunes and checking this out at msgnetworks.com. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm and helps others find this podcast because we're in the discovery stage right now. We're about 12 or 13 episodes in, and I really want people to discover this podcast so that they can enjoy the conversations just like you have. So thank you very much for contributing to that. Another conversation that I had recently that is over at msgnetworks.com is with former New Jersey Net Kenny Anderson. He has a documentary out called Mr. Chibbs, Basketball is Easy, Life is Hard. And if there's ever somebody, speaking of ups and downs in life, just like Chuck Wepner, if there's somebody that should definitely have a movie based on his life, it is Kenny Anderson. And in fact, we talk about the documentary that has been released this week about his life, and that is over at msgnetworks.com. That is a written interview. You can go and read that right now on the website. Have a great weekend, everybody, and next Wednesday we will have another edition of the A-Pod.